everyone, my name is Katja, I'm CatColouring, and a warm welcome to my channel here up to Christmas. So today's video is the long-awaited review of the FABER-CASTELL ALBRECHT DÜRER watercolor pencils. You might remember from my autumn art haul that I have acquired these, and I bought the 60 set because I got a ton of discount on this one, and then I bought some of the colors that I wanted in open stock sale, also with a great discount. So today I'm going to be reviewing these pencils. So before we get started, grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or a mug of tea, and let's begin with this review. So I bought the 60 set, as I said before, because I actually got a great discount. I could also have bought the 120 set. But first off, the discount was not nearly as high. And second of all, you know, FABER-CASTELL pencils, they have the same colors throughout the series. And I already have the 120 polychromas of FABER-CASTELL. This means that I know all of the colors, and there are some colors I like and use a lot. And there are some colors that I hardly use. And this means that the 60 set is actually quite enough and sufficient for most of the colors I want is actually in this set. And as I said, the rest of the colors that I like and use, I bought them open stock. Because for me, there's no meaning getting a lot of the gray colors and some of the brown colors I don't use. There's absolutely no reason to buy them, and when you're not using them. So you can see here, and if you know me from my channel, you know that I do use a lot of green and blue colors. And then there are also a couple of pinks and some red colors I wouldn't be without. And, you know, the brown colors I use most are either the very darkest of the browns or the light here. We have a light ochre and we have a brown ochre. So those are the colors that I actually use. So let's get these to the side and look at the rest of the pencils. And as I said, they are in a very nice tin box here, because they usually are here from FABER-CASTELL. Inside of the box we have a pamphlet in different languages. I can see here talking about the FABER-CASTELL brand, and also the pencils themselves. And these are watercolor pencils. These are not like Derwent Inkpens, which I have used in some videos. Inkpens are pencils where you apply the ink and then you activate it with water, and then the color really shines through, but you cannot really move the color a lot, and once it's dry, you cannot reactivate it. So here it says something about wet techniques. In this pamphlet, dry techniques, because you can also use these ones dry. More of dry techniques, how to blend, I can see, mixed media. And then, of course, an overview of their product line and the colors available in the different sets, of course. So that was one of the pamphlets. And then we have a little commercial here, Pit Graphite Matte, new matte black pencil here. Okay, so the reason I have bought these is really that I wanted to have some watercolor pencils. I do have some normal watercolor pencils from FABER-CASTELL. I bought them, they were in a red box some years ago. I think it was actually Johanna Basford who recommended them. And I'm not very impressed because they are very difficult to work with. They don't have a lot of pigment, and you have to use, I think, a lot of water to blend it nicely. And then I wrote in one of my coloring groups on Facebook, and a man named Scott Barrett, he actually recommended me these and said these are extremely good because they work, well, sort of the same as the polychromas, except the polychromas are oil-based pencils and all that. But they share the same pigmentation here, and you can layer them. You can use them dry and wet, and you can layer them on top of the wet part. When it's dry, then you can add another layer and activate that. So you can really work in layers with these. And I think that the ink tints are a bit more difficult to work with. So, well, you can see here from the first one, we have a nice selection of yellow, orange, red, pink, a little purple and blue colors. And then we move on to the more teal and green colors. Some more ochre colors here, and also these. I don't really use them that much, Pompeian red, but you can use them, you know, for roofs or bricks or some. And then some of my favorite brown colors, a couple of gray colors, not too much, and a black, of course. So this is exactly the way they also lie in the 60 set of the Polychromos pencils here. So not a big surprise here. And as you can see, with the ones that I bought open stock, I have the full range of the green and blue, pink and red colors here. So I have everything I need. If we take out one of the pencils, you can see that the one of the differences from a Polychromos and this one is the Polychromos is round and this one is hexagonal. But the coating also covers the end here, so you cannot see if the core is completely aligned. But this is FABER-CASTELL, so I actually assume that they are completely aligned and centered, because FABER-CASTELL is a quality brand, and I have not had any trouble at all throughout the years I have used the Polychromos, and I have used those for, I don't know, 6 years. Since I bought my first ones. So if we study them further, we have a silver writing here made in Germany, because FABER-CASTELL is in Germany. We have the brush here, which indicates it's a watercolor pencil, and you can activate it with a water brush. Sorry. We have the name Albrecht Dürer here, and this sort of symbol, I actually don't know what that is. And then the mark here, the symbol with the Fighting Knights, which is FABER-CASTELL. And on the other side, we have the writing and the name and number of the pencil color. And it says in German, first, Pompeianisch Rot and Pompeian Red in English, so German and English, and the number 191. And then we have 2 stars here. I hope you can see them. 2 stars here. And the stars, of course, indicate the light fastness of these pencils. Okay, so I have here one of my FABER-CASTELL Polychromos pencils, as you can see, round and not hexagonal. And this is the light chrome yellow 106. And you can see it has 3 stars here. So one of the differences between these oil-based Polychromos and these wax or wax-based and watercolor activated pencils is that these only have 2 stars in the light fast ranging, whereas the Polychromos have 3. And this might have something to do with these being, you know, water soluble compared to these oil-based ones. So be aware that these only have 2 stars and the others 3. But, you know, from when you just use them on a day-to-day basis in coloring books and stuff, I don't think it has that great of a meaning. I don't think it matters that much compared to if you are a professional artist who uses the Polychromos and the watercolor pencils to do artwork that you sell. Then it might actually really matter with how you use it, and if you combine the 2 different color pencils types here, if you combine the watercolors with the Polychromos, because you can actually also just use these, as I said, you can use them dry, so you can take them and you know, use this light cadmium yellow, and if you are coloring some flowers or some light, then apply it, use the brush, make it wet and watercolory and more like aquarelle like, and then you can color on top to enhance some of the yellow color here and there if you want to. So now we have looked at the pencils, and now I will actually swatch them. And since they were both wet and dry, I think I will have to swatch them both wet and dry, so we can take a good look at these coloring pencils. So I will just make my swatch charges, find them, and then we will get started on the swatching part here of this review. as you can see, I have finished the first part of the swatching, and I have done it 2 places because I want to do this one further on with water. So let's see how these react when I add the water. And of course it's a bit difficult to see the white one, but I will do it nonetheless. And I have a paper towel next to me to just wipe off the excess water and color. And wow, we just take the first row here with the yellow colors. I know that some of them are very fine and delicate, but we should be able to see the difference. And notice how well it dissolves the color here. Add water and it dissolves so beautifully. And look here on the first row. So here we have the light colors, the white, ivory, cream, and all of the light yellows all the way to the cadmium orange. And look here, you can clearly see how well it dissolves and also how bright the colors become when the water is added. So it's not like the dry colors are matte at all, but the brightness really pops out when you add the water. So I will just add water to the rest, and then I will look at it, and I will also compare it to the other FABER-CASTELL watercolor pencils I have to do a quick comparison. So now I have swatched all of the colors, and I just have to say you can clearly see the brightness of the colors. If we should compare the dry colors with the polychromos, I have here my polychroma swatch chart. So if we begin here, you can see I can, for my part, actually not see any difference between the polychromos and the dry watercolor pencils here. It's the same colors, apart from the Cadmium Mirrors being up here and the dark chrome yellow here, because I have all of the colors here. So if we continue to the red ones, you can see scarlet red here, scarlet red here, pale geranium lake, the same color. Of course, it also depends on how much you put pressure on it, because here I have swatched them with a lot of pressure and taking the pressure off and then light up pressure here. But you can see also here with the purple and the pink colors, it's the same. So there is really no color difference between the polychromos and these Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. You can see when you add the water, they tend to get a little bit brighter and more saturated in the color. That's because, you know, you dissolve the color pigments and mix them with water. So they always get a much brighter appearance when you work with water mediums here. But still the same colors here, cadmium yellow, just a little bit brighter. So I actually have other coloring pencils. The watercolor pencils, normal from FABER-CASTELL, not an expensive brand. And that is why Johanna Basford a couple of years ago recommended this one when using watercolor pencils, because they were not that expensive. And you can see here they also have a lovely range of colors, and well, they are certainly colors that look like the same. I have a dark chrome yellow and here, so there are a little bit of color differences, but they are also bright. But if you can see here, I have swatched them also dry and wet. These took a lot to dissolve. You can still see the strokes with the pencils here, where they should have been dissolved with water. You can see several places here. You can clearly see the pencil strokes. But with the Albrecht Dürer here, you can see it really dissolves, and you can mix and you can blend the colors so beautifully here. So I would have to say that when you pay for cheaper pencils, they don't work quite as well as the more expensive pencils. I have to say that these seem much easier, I can say already now, to work with than the normal watercolor pencils from FABER-CASTELL. They really do seem easier. But let's put it to the test and test them on different kinds of paper in coloring books, because that is what we're interested in. How do these perform on different sorts of paper? So let's get started on that. Let's begin with Den Magiske Jungle, Magical Jungle by Johanna Basford, like I usually do. And just have to find my, here it is, my test page, or test pages. You can see here that I have used this double page spread here with all of the leaves, and I'm still using it as my test page for coloring pencils in the paper in Johanna Basford books. Most of the paper in her earlier books are at least the same. And then, was it a couple of years ago with, was it Worlds of Wonder or Rooms of Wonder, where they had to switch to another paper. But anyway, I have tried a lot of different coloring pencils out, and I think that we will just take a leaf, and I think perhaps a bigger leaf, because we are going to work with water. So, oh, and that's the pain about double page spreads when you don't, you know, rebind the books. It's a bit difficult to do the middle one. So let us try with this leaf. Here I should be able to work relatively smoothly. Okay, so this will not be like my normal test, you know, with layering. I think that we will test what they look like, and perhaps if we can add on top of it. So sort of layering, but not quite the same as normal coloring pencils. So I have 3 different green colors here. I have the grass green, number 166, and the permanent green, 266, and hooker's green, 159. These are some of my favorite green colors from FABER-CASTELL. So let us try, and you know, you could go dark from inside and then lighter and darker from the outside and in. I actually think I want to do a light here. So we will just take the grass green and, well, they apply nicely enough on the paper. And just get some color on. And I don't have a lot of pressure here because we have to be able to see how much we can move the color about. Then I will just take this permanent green and add a little green here along the edges. I actually don't think I will be using hooker's green. Or will I? Ew. I think I will take hooker's green here. And you can see here, they work like any other normal wax-based pencil. Just putting the color down, and one layer is not enough to cover it. But I don't care, because we have to dissolve it in water now. So I will just take my kitchen towel here, and I will take another one of, oh my goodness, that was certainly the wrong one. This one, I think will do. And begin dissolving the color here. And you can see how very easily the color dissolves here. So this will also be a test with how much can you move the color around. And now I can see something here, the shadow of another leaf. I have absolutely no idea what this is. You can clearly see the outlines here when I add the water of another leaf popping up here, but I have no idea where it's from. This is so weird. Well, that must be the mystery of the day. And well, we have the permanent green here. That certainly gets a bit lighter and brighter than if I had used the color from the polychroma set. So let's see how much we can move this color about. So you noticed that I did have some distance between my color and the lighter color in here, and you can see up here I can actually move the color around so they meet, but down here I don't think I had enough color to move it about. What if I just add a little bit of the permanent green? Is that enough to add some color to move it about? Actually not that much. So you will have to put an adequate amount of coloring pencil down to be able to move the color more around here on this paper. Oh, and I can actually see now, can you see here at the next page, this paper reacts to the water in this coloring book more than I actually anticipated. I have never used watercolor mediums. Let me just think. No, I have never used watercolor mediums in a Johanna Basford book. No, I haven't. I have used soft pastels and fixative and oil pastels and varnish, and that's it, and coloring pencils, of course, and markers. But I haven't used water, and it really looks like that this paper is not that fond of water. I know when it's dry it will be different, but you can see that some of the color actually here, for some reason, this is where I have the imprint of some sort of leaf, goes through here, even with the color. just put it up to the camera so you can see much better. Can you see here the outline of the leaf here? And then the darker one there. It's still a bit moist. Okay, so that was certainly an experience. I did not anticipate this at all. Let's try to put water here on the edge of the leaf where I added the hooker green. And here I colored most of it. And you can see we do have enough of the color to sort of cover the whole paper here. So you will actually have to, if you are a beginner with watercolor pencils, experiment with how much of the pencil you have to lay down to make it cover the paper enough. And so you can move it a little bit around here. You can see when I have dissolved enough of the color, I can move it around just a little bit on the paper. But you can also see from this leaf, not that much. Perhaps it's a matter of how much pigment we can get down on the page. So this is dry now. So let me add another layer. It feels a bit weird and scratchy, trying to put this color on top of the watercolor. Perhaps it wasn't completely dry actually. I just thought it was dry enough to try it out again. And let's try with just a little more pigment from the permanent green here, the grass green and the permanent green. Okay, so I am actually satisfied with the edge there. Let us just try, to dissolve the color. Nope. You can see here I still have some white here. It's like the color won't be there and then here we have more than enough of the color. I will just try to dissolve the permanent green here. Now this time the permanent green is actually a little better. You can see we have enough pigment to get a nice edge here with the permanent green, but this grass green, sorry, this grass green, it simply won't behave. It really won't behave. Look here. So the hooker's green here at the edge, that was actually quite fine. And the second layer here of the permanent green to try to get a little more color, that was also okay, but the grass green in the middle of this leaf is completely hopeless. It won't settle here with the color or here, and then we have the color there and extremely much of the color there. And I can't for the life of me find out why there is an imprint of a leaf there when you don't have it on the other side. And here, oh look here, now the color really penetrates through to the other side, because I added 2 layers. So what have we learned of this? First of all, when you have this very smooth paper, it doesn't have that much of a tone here, in this book here, in this Johanna Basford book, if you lay down enough pigment the first time, then you can move it a little bit around here with water and you can get a coverage like I did with the hooker green. If you, on the other hand, have this area and you have not enough pigment the first time and try to add another layer, it's still then we actually have some accidents here because the color does penetrate through if you try to add another layer. So 1 layer and have enough of the pigment down So you can move it a little bit around and so that it really covers the leaf. That should be the trick here. Let us just try it, because now I'm getting really stubborn here and I want to try it again with another leaf. So let's try one of these leaves up here. I know it's a lot of them. I am really stubborn now, so I will just take the grass green here, and now I press harder to get some of that color down. So not light. So here we should certainly have enough pigment. Okay, so let's try to activate this with water. It certainly is a different result now, because now we really have color spreading very nicely and even, almost even here. On the paper. Oh, this is actually annoying, because here we again have a spot where the color doesn't really, it sort of washes away, doesn't really apply. Can you see here? But elsewise, you can see here that it's a much smoother blend here. So on very smooth paper, get enough of the pigment down on the paper before you use the water brush. And absolutely no layering on this one. So let us try to see if I have ruined the other page. This was actually colored in advance. Just have to see it's this. And no, perhaps it wrinkles just a little bit, but it has certainly not bled through. And that was the main part here. And neither to this page. So that was our experiment in this. So let's try some paper which is not that smooth here in another book. Okay, next book, Twilight Garden by Maria Trolle. And my new test page here, because the other one was actually used up. Oh, I can see that the color here has just smudged off from the other page. So let me just remove a little bit of this red color from the tulips. Well, so let us try out this one. So we have here some spring flowers and some leaves and stuff. So what about some blue colors here and green here, and then this little onion here, some brown colors. So I think that I will just take the cobalt blue for the flowers and another green, the phthalo green for the leaves here. And then, well, I have a brown ochre. It's perhaps not that accurate, but those are the colors I have. So this paper has a bit more tooth, a bit more so I have put down a sufficient amount of color just to see the difference. Then I will just add a tiny line of color here to see if we can get it to cover. And this one I will give enough color. And this one a light layer of color. And this one a normal layer of color. So let's give it enough color here and just a little bit here to see how much we can move the color. So I will just take my water brush. So here where we have the blue, not a big surprise. The water dissolves the color. is more than enough here. So that's fine. Now let's see here. And here, this line, I can actually get it to dissolve and cover the entire stem. Let's see with this one, where we just have a light layer of color. It dissolves. Can I get it to move and fill out the entire leaf? It dissolves fine enough. And I can actually get it to cover almost everything. We just have a bit here, it's more light. Here I put a normal amount of color down. Let's see how this one behaves with the water. So this one is fine. It dissolves quickly and covers the entire leaf. Let's see with this one how it reacts. And it dissolves. And we have more than enough pigment here to move around. So this one dissolves. So can I get this one to move out here? You can see I can actually move the color around from the centerpiece here, where we had most of the color, and I can get it to cover most of this little onion, or what you call it. So it's just a little bit lighter here because we didn't have that much of a color, but I did manage to move more of the color out here. So this coarser paper, I would say, actually works much better with these watercolor pencils, the Albrecht Dürer, because even if you don't put that much of the color down on the paper, it's much more easy to move the color about here on this page, on this paper. You can see I put a lot of color here, and it's actually almost too much color. So I think that this normal layer of color is actually enough. You can just move it about and cover the entire leaf, or down here, in this case with the onion here. And the stem, of course, it gets light when you just use a small amount of color, that you don't have as much pigments as up here where I had a lot of color and therefore a lot of pigment. But it's way easier to move the watercolor pigments around when they're dissolved in the water on this paper than in the Johanna Basford book. So now, did it bleed through? And I have even colored this page, but you can see here, it should be around here, and it does not bleed through. I don't even think it wrinkles the page. No, it doesn't. It doesn't even wrinkle the page. This paper is also a lot thicker than the paper in Johanna Basford books. So this paper in the books by Maria Trolle is certainly, I would say, much more suited for watercolor pencils, perhaps even watercolors, than the paper in Johanna Basford books. So now I will try what I failed to do in the other book. I will try to put down another layer and see how it works. And here, much more easy to apply the second layer of color with the pencil. It was like the paper in that Johanna Basford book was way too smooth. And look, it dissolves and just lies there. Now I will just try to here. And let's see what we can do with this new layer of color. I can dissolve it and I can move it about. And I can get just a little more color out here where it was much more light. See? And then, of course, you can add, you know, more color. You can use a darker color. You can lay down shadows. It also actually dries way faster on this paper than in that Johanna Basford book, I have to say. So you can really play with the watercolor pencils on this paper. This was really much, much better. So let's try with the Hanna Karlzon book, because I know a lot of you color in Hanna Karlzon books. I do too, so let's test it on that paper, because it's usually just a little bit coarser than this paper. Okay, so here we have Seasons, which is my test book from Hanna Karlzon, and I have my test page here. And well, we have a very nice flower down here in the corner. So let us try to work a little bit with this flower. So I have a deep red 223, and I have my scarlet red 118. Yeah, 18. And let's just try to work with this here. So this paper is also thick, nice thick paper, really nice, and also with a bit of a tooth compared to the Johanna Basford book. So let us just add the scarlet red here. And here you can see I add almost out to the edges, but not completely. Then I just add a little bit here to see how much we can move this color about, and down here. So let's see what it will do to the layers. This will also, with the leaves here, with the deep red, a lot of color. This will be a normal amount of color. And a light layer of color. And here where we just add a little bit of color here. So let's try these different things. Let's try this one. Okay, I hope you can see what happens here. As soon as I apply the water, you can, well, see a little bit where the spots were with color, but it actually dissolves and covers these areas quite a bit. So let us try with this. Dissolves quickly, and I can move it up here. So of course it's a bit lighter up here because we don't have as much pigment here, but I was actually able to move the color around. Let's just, for the fun of it, see one of these extremely colored petals here. So you can see when you have enough pigment, it really dissolves, and you have a very strong, very bright and vibrant color here. The normal colored leaf or petal here, and the lighter colored, but you can see how extremely quickly this dissolves, and you can move it about. And then this very lightly, and really, how can we do this? We can dissolve the color, and I can move it just about everywhere I want on this petal. How about that? Look at it. I am actually quite impressed. So here, lots of color down, then you get these extremely vibrant, beautiful, rich colored petals, or whatever you choose to color. Normal, you still get a lot of color down. Not quite as vibrant, but you know, you get enough down. It also depends what you want and how you want to color. A light layer actually also gives a sufficient amount of color, and if you only have a little color here, you can dissolve it and cover the entire petal, and it's only a tiny bit brighter or lighter, lighter actually than the one here where I had a light pressure but covered the entire petal. And here, with just a little dot of color, you can get it to cover the entirety of this one. Let's just dissolve all of this. I just have to say, I really think that this is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. What you can do when you are working on the right kind of paper with these watercolor pencils from Faber-Castell. Look at this. Also, because I did put down quite a lot of color, vibrant, rich. But you can simply do it in many different ways. So you can lay it very light and add a color, and then you can add a lot of details with normal coloring pencils, or, you know, add some on top. I will just try that in a minute. Or you can add a lot of color and get this vibrant then, and then you can add shadows with a darker color. So this one is dry. I will just try a light layer on this one, and we will let it dry. And then we will see if we can add another layer on top and how the paper reacts. So if we just turn the page here, I can feel it's a little bit moist, but that was to be expected because I've just added water on the other side of this page. I can feel the paper bending down just a little bit, but no serious wrinkles or anything. I just have to show you this page, because this one I colored a lot of the page, actually most of the page, with Inktense and added water. And you can see here the entire background, the leaves, the flowers down here, and the mushrooms also. So there's pretty much Inktense and therefore dissolved with water on the entire page. And you can see how the page behaves. It just wrinkles a little bit up. It doesn't really wrinkle. It's affected because I have some water here. But you can, if you want to, iron it, and then it will become completely flat. Again, have I used watercolors in this one? Oh no, it's in my Magical Dawn. But if you have seen some of my other videos... Oh wait, I actually have another page here, because I have used paint also on the paper in this here. Here I used acrylic paint, and you can see it doesn't really wrinkle. So the paper in Hanna Karlzon books, they can really take a lot, even water. I have used actual watercolors in my Magical Dawn, and the paper didn't wrinkle. It just bends a little bit, but it really doesn't wrinkle. So let's go back to this page. So back to our page, and now it's dry. And you can see here, or I can feel it, you can't see it, that the paper bending down a bit, it has almost vanished. So let's try here. And here we get a completely different result. I can simply use my pencil, again, the watercolor pencil here. The same one, not from another brand, not a polychrome, it's not anything. Just a watercolor pencil on top. And I can add color. So now I can reactivate, or I can keep it just if I want to with this color pencil on. But if I reactivate it, then I get this rich, vibrant color like the other petal here. So on this paper in a Hanna Karlzon book, you can do just about anything with these watercolor pencil Albrecht Dürer from Faber-Castell. You can lay them down lightly or put a lot of color down. You can color on top when it's dry, add another layer, activate it if you want to with water. You can move the color around and cover an entire petal with just a tiny amount of color. Anything is actually possible with these watercolor pencils on the paper in this Hanna Karlzon book. And that concludes our testing. So, to conclude this review, these watercolor pencils, Albrecht Dürer from FABER-CASTELL, they are actually quite good to use, but it really depends on the paper. So when you have smooth paper in coloring books like the Johanna Basford books or other coloring books with smoother paper, they don't really perform that well, and there's also a high risk of them bleeding through to the other page. But when you have thicker paper, like the paper you find in Hanna Karlzon book, Maria Trolle books, I even think that Clara Markova's books and so on, those books with thicker paper, then you can use them. And the thicker the paper is, the more you can play with these colors, the more possibilities there are to add just a little bit of color and then get the color to move around and cover a larger area, actually. The better the paper, the thicker the paper, the more possibilities there are. And you can also, when it's dry, layer with ease these pencils and add different kinds of layers. You can also use other coloring pencils on top, and you can add shadows and so on. So if you are new to watercolor and you think that actual watercolors are a bit daring to throw yourself into, then perhaps start with using watercolor pencils, because they are much easier to control, and you can also get great results using watercolor pencils. Another advantage with the FABER-CASTELL products is that the colors are the same. So if you, and I know a lot of people, they have the polychromas, then you can supplement your polychromas with these watercolor pencils, so the colors will match. So if you, for example, for a background uses this grass green, then you can be sure that if you want to add some details with the grass green from polychromas, it is truly the same color. So you can mix and match between the polychromas pencils and the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. So that's also an advantage. You don't have to go to other coloring pencil brands, you know, to add shadows and stuff. You can just use your polychromas for that. They are hexagonal, so I am actually more used to round pencils now. I have my polychromas here. I have a Prismacolor here. It's a bit thinner, but it's round pencils, and those pencils are the one I use the most. But if you don't mind how you hold them in your hand, and it doesn't matter to you whether it's a round or a hexagonal pencil, then of course it doesn't matter. So some people just don't like the hexagonal pencils because they think that they, you know, press a bit too hard on your fingers when you use them. So the big issue with the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils is actually the price. They are rather expensive because they are a not a posh brand, but they are a more expensive brand. So if you live in the Nordic countries and in Europe, you can buy them at different stores, the local bookstore and so on, or art supply store. If you want to buy them online, penstore.com. They ship to most European countries, or a lot of European countries, and especially also the Nordic countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. And you can buy them both in the different sets and also open stock, which is also important if you buy one of the smaller sets and you just want to, you know, supplement with buying the rest of the blue or the green or the brown colors. Then it's a possibility there. If you live in other countries, you can also buy them on Amazon. On Amazon Germany, they do have them, and the prices are, whether or not you buy them on Amazon or on Pen Store, they are quite expensive. You can also buy them on Amazon US and Amazon UK. I found a little bit on Amazon UK, but only small sets. So I'm not sure that they are that easy to get a hold of when you live in the UK. But on Amazon US and Germany, you can get them. But I have to say that on Amazon US, they actually have the 120 set for right now, $186.99, but the list price is actually $260 for the 120 set. So right now they are actually on sale on Amazon US. You can also buy them in the 36 set. Then they are $65.88 on sale, because the normal list price is actually almost $97. So right now they actually have some sale on these Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils on Amazon US, and I would really recommend that you buy them on a sale and save some money, because otherwise they are extremely expensive to buy. So you know, a lot of us, we fall into the trap that we do tend to collect different coloring pencil brands, and it's quite an expensive hobby. So if you really want these, wait until they are on a sale and save some money, and then perhaps buy one of the smaller sets and supply, if you can, with them open stock. I know that on Amazon Germany they do have them open stock. You can buy them open stock, but I'm not sure that you can do it on Amazon UK or Amazon US. So perhaps you will actually have to get them from Europe, but there are places where you can get them open stock, and then you can just buy the colors that you really want, instead of buying one of the larger and way more expensive sets. So I hope that you enjoyed this review. I hope that you would like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I have a playlist with reviews, and you can watch some of the reviews there if you want to use some of your time here during the Christmas holidays with watching reviews. So if you have any questions regarding these watercolor pencils or other, please drop a comment down below, or you can write me on my email. It's on the screen. So I hope that you will have a very nice day and a lovely Christmas. I also hope that you will come back to my channel and watch another video, upcoming videos, more translated throughs of Japanese coloring books. I have 2 upcoming, and also, of course, my new series in the new year, Color and Chat, and more reviews coming based on the buys I did in my Black Friday art haul. That video is also up on my channel, and you can also watch it there. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and until I see you in the next video, have a lovely day, take care of yourself, happy coloring, bye!